everyone, this is Jan with What You Make It, and I am back to show you how I have put the base pages together for my altered book project for December Daily. I made these base pages, and we're going to do a separate video on how I did the binding, but to start with, I wanted there to be, it looked like there was papers that were stacked on top of each other for each page, and I started by using the 6x6 pad that Believe from Bazzil Basics, and I just put a decorative edge on them. Got about 4 or 5 from each 6x6 sheet. And you'll notice that I'm kind of doing alternating pages because I'm looking at the page number, wanted to make sure that they fit in there. So I'm going to have to trim down the original pages just a little bit, and I'm using this decal ruler, and you could do 3 or 4 pages at a time. What I did, I wanted the page that you see to be the Christmas Carol words, and so I just took some extra pages from other things, other books that I had, to put them back behind there. So once I got them kind of cut down to size, I went ahead and did just a bit of distressing. Now, I'm going to be working on each of the pages as I go through it. I'm really just creating the base background here, but I knew that putting ink on the edge and kind of distressing it would take it would be difficult once all the pages were together, because you're going to see I'm going to actually sew these pages together. So I figured out that I did want to put distressing on both sides of that little strip of paper. I don't use much adhesive here because really and truly I'm going to sew around this edge. I'm just kind of doing enough to hold it in place while I do the sewing. It's very whopper jawed. I want it to look like the pages just kind of fell on top of each other, but I did want a little bit of color on each page. So that's why I put that little strip of paper on there. And I think when you see it all come together, you'll see that that's a really good little thing. Now, this right here, I want you to see the difference between the one on the left and the one on the right. The one on the left, I've gone ahead and put some gesso, but I didn't want to put white gesso on it. I wanted to tone it down a little bit. So basically, I'm using white gesso, 2 parts. My mixture here is 2 parts of white gesso, 1 part of cream colored acrylic, and 1 part of water. Mix it together really good, and just have your paper towels ready. You're going to think you're going to ruin it, but you really aren't. Just go ahead and wipe it, and if you get a little bit of the paint on that edge, use a wet wipe and wipe off your that little colored strip, because we don't really need to tone it down. The pages need to be toned down. And I wanted to use gesso because it will give me a really nice basis for either painting, stamping, whatever. It will make it really, really easy to do whatever we decide to do to these pages later. And, you know, if I want to leave them, you can still kind of see the writing through it. So we've got all kinds of options. You do want to dry them very carefully. We don't want to be going on to this next step with them damp. So do take the time to dry the front and the back. Trim all of your threads. And here's something that I decided to do. I had a little dilemma. I knew I wanted to have some pockets, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. And you remember this muslin that I did back on the blessing box during my fall project. I had some extra, and so I just tore some strips of it because I wanted the edges to be frayed, and then I did stamping. This is Tim Holtz's Christmas blueprints, and I just kind of measure it and tear it, and this is how I'm going to make some of the pockets and some of the decorations. So I've already done quite a few of these, but I want to show you. I got my mouse pad out for stamping. That helps. And I had to kind of decide between my ink. So I did a little testing, and I thought I would use permanent ink like archival or StazOn. That really didn't work very well. The distress ink I knew I didn't want to use because it reacts with water. So I ended up with this color box chalk ink, and it gave me a really nice impression, and I heat set it when I was done. And so I think these are going to do pretty well. I don't know, I may color some of them in, but right now I'm just getting the basic pages done. Just give it a really good press and you'll see that you get a great impression. I thought I'd show you some of the others. I used one of the other Christmas blueprints. That was the toy soldier. Then this is a stamp from In the Meadow. It's a paper tray ink stamp, and I put both the dashing through the snow and the silhouette of the sleigh and the horse. And this is a vintage Santa that I stamped, and I like that he's kind of going off the edge there, and I used a little Believe stamp with that. And then I had some scriptures that I stamped. They are from, I believe, a Christmas blessing set. I will have to check on that. Leave me a note if you're interested in those. But I was really pleased with how clear a impression it got. Now this may be my favorite one. I used the Nativity silhouettes, and Tim Holtz has some different people. This one happens to be paper tray ink, but I loved how cool it is. And I'm going to put them on facing pages and kind of have the scene running all the way across the bottom. So I'm kind of excited about that. So I'm going to go and sew these into pockets, just going through here and figuring out what page I want to put these on, and then I will go and sew them. Some of them I will need to trim down, and you'll notice if it doesn't fit really well, I just tear a little piece extra off and put it back in place, and I'll go into my sewing machine and get all of those all that stitching done. Some I'm going to do as pockets, like I said, and some I'm just going to put there. So here they are. This is what they look like when I got them done. I'm just going to give you a quick flip through the book as it exists right now. Move them around, put those that I could, I put up to the top of the page. You'll see I've also included some of that music paper, which I'm just kind of excited about how this is going to go. And now that I've gotten all of these base pages done, I will be able to go ahead and start the binding process. I didn't want to be putting it in the book while I was doing all of that gesso. Next video we'll talk about the binding, but I wanted to have this done so I wouldn't mess up my actual book with all that paint. I'll be back soon for the next one. I hope you'll join me. Merry Christmas!